This was a big win for Ron DeSanctimonious, as the president called him, or former president called him, or for DeSantis, and not a great night for former President Trump's prospects for 2024.
Look, I think it's still way too early to be talking about what is going to happen in 2024. Because if you remember back in the 2010 election, when we had the midterms, the first midterms of the Obama election, and that was a wave election. We picked up 63 seats as Republicans and regained the majority at that point. We thought we were on such a roll, and then we were going to easily be able to defeat President Obama in 2012. And as we know what happened, that was just not the case. So there is going to be some kind of reset now. There's going to be expectations on the part of a Republican majority and a Kevin McCarthy-led House to deliver for the party. And at the same time, knowing full well we've got a system where if there's a Democratic Senate, and certainly the Biden White House is not going to go along with the agenda that a Republican Party wants to push in the House. So to your point earlier, it'll be gridlock, but it'll also be, I think, importantly, an end to the ambitious spending and tax programs that we've seen over the last couple of years, certainly in the last year, that has run into collision with the monetary policy at the Fed. And I know that, we at Moelis are seeing a lot of volatility, and our clients are facing it every day. And I think a lot of that comes from this disconnect between the two, between Congress and the Fed. That will come to an end. The
inflation rate, the strength of the economy, President Biden's approval rating. I mean, go down the list. There was a reason pollsters saw a red tsunami. There was a reason that a red tsunami was predicted. Now, maybe it was abortion, which a month and a half, 2 months ago looked like it was going to be more of an issue. Maybe that was it. But something went awry. And it looks like extreme candidates on either side, and for lack of a better term, ultra MAGA candidates, it's almost as if there was a kind of a mass rejection of that ideology, Eric. That's why I'm saying I think all bets are off for 2024. If President Trump, former President Trump, was the shoe-in candidate before yesterday, I don't think that's the case at all anymore. Do you?
Well, let's separate Trump from the candidates, right? Because you're right. Candidates matter. That's always been the case. And there's no way another individual like President
they were
Trump
his candidates, Eric. They were his candidats. They were hand-selected, and they were McConnell. He quit saying it because everybody, at your own risk, do you alienate former President Trump? You've probably had a problem if you did. So even McConnell said these are crappy candidates, and I'm not gonna be majority leader after this. And it looked like that for a long time, and now it's probably going to be the case.
Listen, we are so divided, and you think about the levels of turnout we're now sort of at in this country. There's no telling that if Donald Trump wasn't engaged, that we would have had the type of turnout on our side. And I think this goes to the point, nothing is dispositive. No issue is dispositive. The country hasn't decided. We are 49-49, and we are fighting over
Eric,
a very reduced slice.
Republicans should have won the Senate last time, and Georgia was the problem for a very specific reason. And if Georgia once again comes out 50-50 or 51-49, it's again Georgia, and it's again the fingerprints and what happened with Georgia are on President Trump, former President Trump.
Yeah, listen, and remember, but the candidates last time, that wasn't necessarily the issue last time, because we had two incumbents running last time.
The issue was last time. It was the same issue.
Sure, it was. Right. It was this sort of doubt cast on the actual process of voting and whether you should even show up because your vote wouldn't count. Of course, that was a negative input.
Eric, if we are such a closely divided country, and if this election is a telling sign of all of that, how come both parties, when they manage to eke out a win, run with it as if they have the biggest mandate they've ever been handed? How come there is not more bipartisanship? How come there's not more willingness to reflect on this and say, maybe people don't want some of our more extreme positions in this?
Becky, spot on. That is the challenge, is who is going to be the candidate is going to figure out how to be able to motivate the base, because we know that certainly on my side of the aisle, Donald Trump can do that. Who can figure out how to do that and then parlay that to that slice of the independents and win? But nobody has yet figured out how to do that. And just barely. And in fact, Donald Trump is the biggest motivator on both sides. I mean, I think that ultimately in the 2020 presidential, what we saw was he was the one motivating my side as well as the Democrats to turn out. So again, that is intuitive, Becky, when you say, why would people take the message? Can't we just try and bridge the gap so you can try and solve some problems rather than focus on your differences? We just haven't gotten there as a system.